Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a real head-scratcher, a company that had its best year ever and one of its worst quarters all at the same time. How does that even happen?
All right, so the company we're talking about is Jiayin Group. You might know them by their ticker, JFIN. They're a big deal in China's fintech scene, and we're going to dive into their Q4 2025 earnings report to figure out what's really going on.
Okay, so when you first look at the numbers, it's confusing. For the entire year of 2025, their net income shot up by a whopping 45.4%. I mean, that's fantastic, right? But then you look at just the last 3 months of that year, Q4, and boom, net income plummeted by a staggering 63.5%. Talk about whiplash. So what's the real story here? Is Jiayin Group killing it, or are they in trouble? To get to the bottom of it, we've got to look beyond just these two numbers and see the bigger picture, a picture that affects their whole industry.
Okay, first things first. Let's zoom out and look at the whole year. And honestly, for 2025, the picture was looking pretty darn good for Jiayin. They seem to have some serious momentum going. Get this, for the full year, they pulled in a net income of 1.54 billion RMB. That's a massive 45.4% jump from the year before. I mean, in a tough market, that shows some serious strength.
And it wasn't just one lucky number either. The growth was everywhere you looked. Loan volume, up 28%. Total revenue, up more than 7%. By all accounts, this company was absolutely firing on all cylinders. But, and this is a big but, the story does a complete 180 when we zoom in on just those last 3 months. The momentum didn't just fade away. It slammed right into a brick wall. In Q4, their net income just fell off a cliff. It dropped to just over 100 million RMB. If you compare that to the same time last year, we're talking a nosedive of more than 63%. All of a sudden, that amazing growth story, well, it looks a whole lot different. This table really lays it all out. Plain and simple. Look at this. Loan volume, up 28% for the year, but down almost 13% in the quarter. Net revenue, up for the year but down over 22% in the quarter. It's like we're talking about two totally different companies. So what on earth happened? How do you go from hero to zero so fast? Well, the answer isn't some internal screw-up. It's something much bigger, something that happened outside the company's walls. It turns out there was a regulatory storm brewing in China. The government dropped a whole new set of rules that basically changed the entire game for the fintech industry overnight. And don't just take my word for it. The company's CEO, Jiayin pointed his finger directly at this. He said this whole change led to, and I'm quoting here, sector-wide liquidity tightening and increased volatility. Basically, in plain English, money got tight and the whole market became way riskier, like instantly. So these new rules kicked in on October 1st, and they were a really big deal. We're talking about a lot more transparency, new restrictions on the fees companies could charge, and it even forced banks to be super picky about who they partner with. For a company like Jiayin, this wasn't just a minor tweak. It completely changed their business model. So you can't just keep playing the same game when the rulebook's been thrown out the window, right? Jiayin knew they had to adapt, and fast. They made a major pivot, a total shift in their strategy. So the new game plan? Stop chasing massive growth at all costs. The new mantra became quality over quantity. The idea was to forget about just getting bigger and instead focus on getting stronger by improving the quality of their loans and managing risk. And what does that actually look like? Well, it means being a lot more careful about who you lend money to. You can see this in how they're managing their delinquency rates. At the end of the quarter, only about 2% of their loans were over 90 days late. That tells you they're serious about focusing on safer bets. And a huge part of this new plan is technology. They're doubling down on their AI strategy, which they call 4+2. It's basically a two-pronged attack. One part uses AI for the core business, finding good borrowers, managing risk. The other part uses AI to make the company itself run smarter and more efficiently. Okay, so things are getting tough in China for sure, but Jiayin had an ace up its sleeve. While all this was going on at home, they've been quietly building something else, an engine for growth completely outside of China. And when I say growth engine, I mean it. Their international business was absolutely exploding. For the whole year, loan volume in Indonesia shot up by an insane 187%. In Mexico, up 105%. This is the kind of growth you dream about. So you can see why this is so important for them now. Going global isn't just a side project anymore. It's a key part of their survival strategy. By spreading out, they're not so dependent on what happens in China. It's about building a business that can last. So, after a year that was a total roller coaster, what's next for Jiayin? Well, as you might guess, they're not making any wild promises. Their whole vibe now is cautious and disciplined. If you look at their forecast for the next quarter, Q1 2026, it's pretty modest. They're telling everyone to expect loan volume to be even lower than that tough Q4. But here's the key. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's proof that they're sticking to their new plan. Stability and quality are the name of the game now, not just growth for growth's sake. So, let's wrap this up. The story of Jiayin isn't about a company that just messed up. It's a story about a company that got hit by a tidal wave of new regulations and had to learn to surf. They had a great year, got derailed by that regulatory storm, and now they're pivoting hard, focusing on better loans, smarter AI, and looking for growth around the world. And that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? They've made their play. They're betting on quality, technology, and global expansion to get them through this. But in this brand new, super regulated world, is that bet going to pay off? Will it be enough to redefine their future? We'll have to wait and see.